What's going on, Vikings fans? Welcome into the show. My name is Patrick Seatman, and coming up on today's show, we're going to dive into the latest trade rumors around the Minnesota Vikings before the NFL draft as it gets underway tomorrow, Thursday night. Also, friendly reminder, we'll be live for the NFL draft, so if you guys could tune in there and also hit that subscribe button because we're actually doing a race to 100 subscribers before the start of the NFL draft, and we're taking on our Packers and our Bears channel here at Chat Sports. If you guys could hit that subscribe button, we're also about 100 subs away from 56K. So if you guys could hit that subscribe button today and help us beat the Packers Report and Bears Now in a race to 100 subs. All right, let's dive into it. We're going to talk about 5 trade targets for the Minnesota Vikings that could go down during the NFL draft or honestly a couple hours before. You never know how these phone calls are working with these GMs. But first name here, Jalen Ramsey. Now, the Dolphins have already came out and said they are going to look to move off Jalen Ramsey. So I expect a deal to get done during the NFL draft or honestly before the draft. They can also wait till after, but I think they would ideally like to get this done before the draft begins or during the draft on Thursday night. And, my trade idea, I was originally saying the Vikings could possibly give up a first-round pick. I was completely wrong on that. I think it would just be a 2025 third-rounder, pick number 97 for Jalen Ramsey. Now, I will say, if this is the deal that comes across my phone, oh my goodness, I would be absolutely thrilled about this. Because, yes, whoever you get at pick number 93, that will be younger, that will be on a rookie deal, so I understand that benefit, but it would be very unlikely that, especially day one, that they are the level of corner that Jalen Ramsey is. And Ramsey, he still had a good year. Even though he's 30 years old, he still had a good year for the Dolphins this past season. Overall grade, 76.9. That was 16th out of 222 eligible corners. Had a solid pass rush grade, which Flores, he's going to ask his corners to blitz, be good in the run defense, and, Jalen Ramsey's solid in both of those categories. And then also coverage grade, 71.9, very solid as well. And the reason why I like this move so much is because this would allow Byron Murphy to completely play in the slot, which I think that's where he is at his best. Now, he played majority in the slot this past season. Obviously with Flores, you're moving your corners all over the field. But I still think Byron Murphy's best play came when he was the slot corner. And then if you would have Jalen Ramsey on the outside, Murphy in the slot, and then it's Mekhi Blackman there as well, Isaiah Rodgers working in, Jeff Okudah. Like, if you have this 5-man cornerback room, and let's just say Blackman steps up or Rodgers takes another leap in his game, like, this is one of the better cornerback groups in the National Football League. And, I always appreciated when the Rams were going on their run with Stafford when they won the Super Bowl and they traded for Von Miller, picked up OBJ, and they kind of, made the whole slogan of F them picks, a real thing. And I think trading for Jalen Ramsey, that would be the cherry on top of this Vikings offseason because I love the moves. You improve the trenches. Hargrave, Allen, Fries, Kelly. And then if you would go trade for a cornerback on the level of Jalen Ramsey, I would do it in a heartbeat. But, hey, you guys let me know. Are you willing to give up that third-round pick for Jalen Ramsey? Give me an A for accept. Give me a D for decline. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I know with the Vikings having very, very limited draft capital, you don't love giving up draft picks. But if it's for a caliber of corner, which Jalen Ramsey is, I would do it. But if you guys disagree with me, let me know your thoughts down below. Alrighty, let's talk about Will Levis here. Bleacher Report threw out a trade idea that the Vikings could be interested in Will Levis. And, I understand the thought process here, with the backup quarterback, still a big need for the Vikings. Does Will Levis make some sense? I get it on paper, but I'm also going to say this. I'd rather have Brett Rippon than Will Levis because this past season, Will Levis was terrible. The fact that he has like a slogan around his name where it's like, oh, that was a Will Levis play where the quarterback just makes a bonehead decision. That's never good. But 13 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, just not a good quarterback. And if the Vikings trade any draft capital for Will Levis, I will completely crash out. Even if it's a 2026 7th-round pick, I will be furious. There is no reason, there's no argument you can make to me where it's like, yeah, Will Levis, that would be a good idea. And I also understand, like, the Kevin O'Connell, QB rehab school where you can just take any quarterback and, have their play be better. I agree with that. I'm guarantee you if Levis did come to the Vikings and he had to start for a couple games, that would be the best version of Will Levis we have ever seen. But I don't know if that best version is even a backup caliber quarterback in the National Football League. But what would you do? Would you trade for Will Levis? Give me a T for trade. Give me a P for pass. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. I'm completely against it. Not even for a future 7th-round pick. But maybe you guys disagree with me. Maybe you're a Will Levis fan. What would you do? Let me know down below in the comments section. Now we'll dive into 3 more trade targets for the Vikings here in just a second. But before we do so, got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Now, if you guys download the Prize Picks app today, plug in promo code CLNS, you guys will get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, what is Prize Picks? Well, Prize Picks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. And how do you play? You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Now, if you guys want to cash in on the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks, don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup. Whether it's points, rebounds, assists, take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. I'll tell you what, I'll be taking the more on Anthony Edwards' points, rebounds, and assists for every single game in this series versus the Los Angeles Lakers. He's been on a heater, so I'll be including him. Also, I think a little Dante DiVincenzo, more on his three-pointers made, could be a winner in your Prize Picks lineup over the next week or so. But if you guys could, download the app today, plug in promo code CLNS, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. A massive, massive shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. Got that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. But shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, let's talk about another cornerback here, Greg Newsome II. Now, Adam Schefter wrote up an article yesterday just saying, hey, here's some guys that could get dealt during the NFL draft, and he listed Greg Newsome as one of those guys. And if it's for a third-round pick, I would be a little more hesitant compared to a guy like Jalen Ramsey. But Greg Newsome, extremely intelligent player, went to Northwestern, very versatile as well, can play a multitude of different positions for a defense, and especially with Brian Flores, that'll be a huge must for his scheme. But 155 tackles during his career, 3 interceptions, his 27 PBUs, also 2 sacks as well. But I think Newsome, like for the third-round pick, I would be a little more hesitant because I think Newsome plays his best ball when he is, that slot nickel corner. And with obviously Byron Murphy, that being his bread and butter, like, do you want to trust Newsome completely on the outside? I don't know if I'd be willing to give up draft capital for that. But you never know. Maybe Flores and this group are saying, hey, we could get the most out of him. We could turn him into a solid cornerback too. So just keep your eyes out on that. I think it's unlikely, but it could happen during the NFL draft. And now, player number 4 here, Sam Howell, quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Seahawks just signed Drew Lock about a week ago, and people are saying that Sam Howell could be on the trade block. And with the Vikings, obviously that need at that back quarterback spot, maybe they could look at Sam Howell. And the only way I'm trading for Sam Howell is if it's for a 2026 7th-round pick. That's the only way I'm doing it. I'm not giving up a 5th. I'm not giving up a 6th. I'm giving up no draft capital this year, that's for sure. But if it's for a future 7th-round pick, I think I would be down to do it. He would be a solid backup quarterback. I mean, I will say the Seahawks offense looked so bad when he checked into the game for Geno Smith. But maybe, you can make the argument where it's like, hey, the KOC, QB rehab, he'll get the most out of him. But I would still rather just ride out with Brett Rippon as QB2. But number 5 here, honestly, I would have put this number 1 if the Vikings had a more dire need at the wide receiver position. And that's going to be Treylon Burks here, former first-round pick, Ole Miss guy. He really was kind of in that mold of like A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, these big, physical wide receivers. But I will say trading for Treylon Burks would be a very Kwesi move, where it's like you have that former first-round pick, freak athlete, kind of on the same path of like, even though it wasn't a trade for Marcus Davenport, but like Vikings picking up him. And there's been a multitude of guys where the Vikings have, taken a chance on a former first-round pick that hasn't worked out for their previous team. And I think with the Vikings wide receiver room right now, like I like it a lot. Obviously, Jefferson makes this whole group a whole lot better. But then Jordan Addison, one of the best 2s in the league. But even if Addison were to have to miss time due to that suspension, which is probably going to happen, I'm cool with them riding out with Jalen Naylor and Rondell Moore as the 2 and 3. Just bump them up in the depth chart. So I'd be cool with that. But I wouldn't trade for Treylon Burks. I just think that is a move Kwesi could potentially make during the draft. Now, I do want to close today's show out talking about 2 guys that could be traded away from the Minnesota Vikings. Both of these extremely unlikely. And I hate talking about Jordan Addison again, but you still have to go through the process where it's like, okay, Justin Jefferson's getting paid $35 million a year. is Addison going to get paid 35? TJ Hawkinson 20. JJ McCarthy's contract's coming up. Christian Darrisaw just got paid the bag. You really start working through this where it's like maybe the Vikings have to make a decision here where it's like, are we going to trade Hawk or are we going to keep Hawk and then you got to extend Addison? Then next offseason, maybe you trade Hawk. But it may not be this offseason. But the Vikings, I think we'll have to pick between Hawk and Addison in terms of who they want as that secondary weapon next to Jefferson. I think this is an easy decision. This is Jordan Addison. Even if, like, obviously you trade Addison, you could get a high second-round pick, maybe even a first for him. And where Hawk, for example, you're probably getting a fourth-round pick, maybe a third if you get lucky. But if draft night comes around and the Vikings have a chance to trade TJ Hawkinson for a third, I think I would do it. Jordan Addison, though, I'm not trading him just yet. But maybe you guys disagree with me. What say you on this one? Would you trade Jordan Addison? Give me a T for trade. Give me a P for pass. We'll see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.